Good evening. You're watching Left, Right and Centre. I'm Nidhi Razdan. Tonight, Narendra Modi's government comes under pressure from the Sangh Parivar and puts on hold its request to seek the death penalty for former Minister Maya Kodnani and a Bajrang Dal leader convicted for a 2002 riots case. Has the Parivar prevailed over Modi? Also tonight, the Congress denies that its new ad blitz is linked to the early general election. But is that actually what the country needs? Will an early election end the political drift in this country once and for all? But first, in a move that's created political controversy, the Narendra Modi government has today put on hold a plea to seek the death sentence for former Modi minister Maya Kodnani and Bajrang Dal leader Babu Bajrangi in a riots case. Kodnani was sentenced to 28 years in prison by a trial court for her role in the killing of 97 Muslims in Naroda Patia in 2002. Mr. Modi's earlier move to seek her death had surprised many since she was close to him. But many believed he did it to distance himself from her and from the riots taint as he gears up for a national role. But he seems to have backtracked after intense pressure from the Sangh Parivar.
A U-turn from the Narendra Modi government, triggering a political storm. The state has ordered a special panel to put on hold a request seeking the death sentence for former Modi minister Mayaben Kodnani and Bajrang Dal leader Babu Bajrangi. They were both found guilty of leading murderous mob in a 2002 riots case. A directive to the head of the panel says the legal department will seek the view of the state's top legal officer, the Advocate General. Till then, the appeal should not be filed in the Gujarat High Court. But questions, both political and legal, are being raised over the government order. The SIT, which is a prosecuting agency in the Naroda Patia massacre case, has raised several questions over the recent order. In fact, sources say that the SIT will soon approach an appropriate legal authority to challenge this order. But what made the Narendra Modi government do a rethink? The Gujarat Chief Minister has been under line of fire from Sangh affiliates, including the VHP and Bajrang Dal, for clearing the SIT's plea for enhancement of punishment for Kodnani. Worse for Modi, even key NDA constituent, the Shiv Sena, had criticized him over the decision. In a recent editorial, Shiv Sena MP Sanjay Raut had blamed the defeat in Karnataka over the BJP dumping its core Hindutva card. Those fighting for the riot victims allege politics behind the move.
The move was political, and now because there is mounting pressure from the Hindutva forces, now the government has to back out.
देखिए इसमें कोई यू टर्न और राइट टर्न और लेफ्ट टर्न नहीं है. जो कानूनी प्रक्रिया है, जो कानूनी व्यवस्था है, उसके तहत जो वहां पर सरकार जो उपयुक्त और जो कानूनी सलाह के आधार पर कर रही है वो उपयुक्त है, उचित है.
When there was a pressure on the same day, the official statement from the government spokesperson was that no, we have no role to play. This is the decision of the SIT and we have no option but we'll have to file an appeal. Now today, what is compelling him?
With the SIT planning to challenge the move, it seems the Modi government will have to do lots of explaining over its new directive. In Ahmedabad, Rohit Ban for NDTV.
So as Mr. Modi backtracks on Maya Kodnani, has the Parivar prevailed over him? Is this a delicate balancing act that Mr. Modi will now have to do as he tries to cultivate an image for himself as a national leader? Joining us on the program tonight, we have BJP spokesperson Pinky Anand joining us this evening. Here in the studio with us, we have Samajwadi Party leader Mr. Kamal Farooqi, from the Shiv Sena, Rahul Narvekar, and our commentator this evening, Mr. Ashok Malik. Let me ask Pinky Anand first, why has this U-turn happened at this time? You know, the BJP might try to explain it as legalese, but I'm sure you'd understand that everyone will look at the politics of this more than anything else.
See, the point, I don't know why so much hue and cry is being created when a state government is deciding to take a decision based upon, initially it had obviously given some sanction, but the state government, if it feels that an opinion is required from the Advocate General, which is the highest officer in the state, I don't know why it is every assumption is being made it is a U-turn A. We still have to await what the Advocate General will ultimately say in the matter, and it is perfectly logical. In fact, in the first instance, the opinion of the Advocate General is something which is almost a mandatory sequence. It's not required. It's not that you must have it, but at the same time, you normally in such cases, when you are going for death penalty, and please believe me, when you see the Sessions judgment also, even that basically counteracts against the death sentence, and there are lots of reasons given in the judgment why there should be no death sentence. So in these circumstances, if the government is considering its decision on how and whether to go around it at all, because capital punishment is something, as I said, the Sessions judgment has condemned and given 28 years to Ms. Khodnani.
So then why didn't that thought cross the Modi government earlier? If it had to go through the Advocate General and tread carefully, as you're saying, if it's purely on those grounds, then you do it earlier, because the impression is everyone was surprised first when the government decided to press for the death penalty, since that was not what was awarded by the court, as you yourself have pointed out. Many believed it was an attempt by Mr. Modi to distance himself from the riots and from Maya Khodnani, and that now he's come under pressure because very openly you had Sangh groups and the Shiv Sena and NDA ally criticizing him.
See, ultimately, when it is a question of going for the death sentence, every authority, including the state, always treads very cautiously, and it is not a step which is to be taken lightly, obviously, whatever the circumstances might be. If the state government of Gujarat in this case is deciding to await the opinion of the Advocate General and then to take a final decision on whether to go ahead or not, it is not very unusual in these circumstances, and I think it's something which should be appreciated. If you are taking the opinion of the Advocate General, after all, what does anybody want? That the state must go for the death sentence, or everybody is just viewing this as a political move this way or that way? Ultimately, this is a legal judgment which has come in and against certain people, and you're talking about which penalty should be awarded. It is the prerogative of the state government and its legal officers, including the Advocate General, who is the highest authority in the state, to decide whether there should be an appeal or not. Initially, maybe the SIT report persuaded the government, but they are entitled for a rethought.
Okay.
And
so you're saying the state is just treading
sequence.
carefully because it is the death penalty that is involved, and something as serious as that. Rahul Narvekar, how does the Shiv Sena see it? Because the Sena was very openly critical of this move to ask for the death penalty in the first place. The Samna editorial had written that seeking the death penalty for Khodnani and Babu Banjagi is a deadly attack on Hindus who have different expectations from Modi. Do you believe today that the state government of Gujarat has backtracked on this somewhat as a result of this kind of pressure?
Well, Nidhi, at the outset, let me tell you that yes, terror of every kind needs to be dealt with a very firm hand, and there should be zero tolerance to terror, whether it's in the form of riots or otherwise. But when we say there should be zero tolerance and it should be dealt with a firm hand, this should be uniform, this should not be selective. A question that comes to my mind is, how many times in the past when there have been such terror attacks has the Chief Minister of Gujarat stood up and said that we are going to file an appeal and ask for death penalty? So that is what is a little troubling, and of course we have the highest respect for Mr. Narendra Modi. He is the leader of the Bharatiya Janata Party and an able administrator, and therefore when such moves come from his government, it's rather disappointing. Number two, Ms. Pinky Anand was just telling us about how it is logical to get the opinion of the Advocate General. To my mind, it would be prudent and it would be logical to have taken the opinion of the Advocate General before you make such a demand or such a declaration that you are going to seek an appeal with regards to enhancement of the punishment. I think this shouldn't be done just at the edge while you're just about to file your appeal. I think this should have been done prior to making such a declaration.
Why do you think then Mr. Modi's government decided to go and appeal and ask for the death sentence in the first place, and why do you think that he has backtracked on this now?
Well, I think if you have a rational look at this, I think it is an attempt on part of Mr. Modi to further his secular intentions, but I think this is not the best way of putting it across. We don't have any doubts about his secular intentions, but you cannot be pseudo-secular and you cannot do it at the cost of Hindu sentiments. I mean, if the court has probably decided on a particular issue, the court has applied its mind to it, and then if you want to file an appeal, then you should file an appeal in every terror cases which have happened in Gujarat in the past. But that doesn't seem to have happened.
Okay, let me
I've never seen Mr. Modi come out and express the same opinion with regards to terror cases in the past which have happened in Gujarat. Why is there this special need for Mr. Modi to come out with regards to this?
Okay.